Hey gentlemen, we are back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your weekend. Today we're going to move into chapter 7. So today, Monday through Thursday, or this week, Monday through Thursday, like I told you guys on Friday when we Zoomed, probably just videos. You guys will have homework assignments. Not necessarily going to be a new lesson every day. We'll probably have a day of review in there where you guys will just get some practice with what we've been working on. But that's kind of the game plan for this week. So today we're going to talk about Pythagorean theorem, which is a theorem that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. A lot of you have probably actually used this before and know how to use it. So today will just be review for you. And if you've never used this theorem before, it's pretty simple. So what the Pythagorean theorem is in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of each of the legs. So you'll see on the right here, we have a right triangle. And the legs, which remember are the sides that make up the right angle, are labeled A and B. And then the hypotenuse, or the side that's opposite of the right angle, is labeled C. So our Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. The sum of the squares of the legs is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. This is true for all right triangles. So if we take a look at a couple examples down here, let's do A first. We see that the legs of the triangle, so A and B, it doesn't matter which leg is A and which leg is B, it's going to give you the same result either way, are 24 and 7. And then our hypotenuse, or our side C, is our unknown. So if we use Pythagorean theorem, A squared, 24 squared, plus B squared, which is 7 squared, should equal our unknown side X squared. So if we do the calculations for this, we have 24 squared, which is 576, plus 49, which is 7 squared, should give us 625 on this left side. That's equal to x squared. Now we're just using algebra to solve. I take the square root of both sides. And if I take the square root of both sides, the square root of 625 is 25. So 25 is equal to our unknown side, x. Okay, using the same logic, why don't you guys go ahead, pause the video, try example B, and then hit resume to check and make sure you're on the right track. So same thing over here. We are going to take our legs, which are 9 and 12. That's A and B. Our unknown side is C. So 9 squared plus 12 squared equals x squared. 9 squared is 81, plus 12 squared is 144, giving us 225 equals x squared. When I take the square root of both sides here, the square root of 225 is 15. So our missing side, or the length of our hypotenuse, ends up being 15. These next two, why don't you guys go ahead and try on your own as well. Same concept, still using Pythagorean theorem here, just a little different setup to where you've got to analyze the problem in a story problem. So go ahead, pause the video, try these next two, and then hit resume and make sure you're on the right track. All right, number 2. So a 6-foot board rests under a doorknob. The base of the board is 5 feet from the bottom of the door. Approximately how high is the doorknob? So here's our right triangle here. We've got A, we've got B, and we've got C. Little different this time in that our unknown is one of our legs. So we have 5 squared plus x squared equals 6 squared. So 5 squared is 25 here, plus x squared equals 36. Subtract 25 from both sides, and x squared is equal to 11. Now I go ahead, take the root of both sides, and when I take the square root of 11, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and give me the rounded answer here. So take the square root of 11, and we would get that x is equal to about 3.32 feet. So the doorknob is about 3.32 feet above the ground. And number 3, same idea. This time we've got our triangle again. We know a 5-foot board. The base of the board is 3.5 feet from the door. Now, how high above? So same problem, different numbers. 3.5 squared plus x squared equals 5 squared. This would be our right angle. This would be our hypotenuse and our 2 legs. So 3.5 squared is going to be 12.25 plus x squared equals 25. X squared equals, subtract 12.25 from both sides, and I end up with 12.75 equals x squared. So then we're going to take 12.75, take the square root of it, and I end up with that doorknob is 3.57 feet above the ground. Now, just some more ideas that we can use with right triangles. Find the area of the isosceles triangle with side lengths 16, 17, and 17 meters. So now, we should remember, or you should recall, that the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 base times height. That's something that if you don't know, commit that to memory, because that is not something I will give you on an assessment. Now, we've got this triangle, and we have the height here, but the height is unknown. Fortunate for us, they give us a right triangle, so we're going to be able to calculate the height of this by using Pythagorean theorem. So 8 is A, H is B, our hypotenuse is still C, which is 17. So we should be able to find the height of this isosceles triangle by going 8 squared plus, we don't know what our height is, equals 17 squared. So 64 plus h squared is equal to 17 squared, which is 289. Go ahead and subtract 64 from both sides to get h squared is equal to 225. When you take the root of both sides here, we get the height of this triangle is equal to 15 meters. So now we know the height is 15. We still want to find the area, so I can now use the base of the isosceles triangle and the height of the isosceles triangle to find the area. So area is equal to 1/2. The base is the entire way across, so that would be 16. The height we just found was 15. So 1/2 times 16 times 15 should give us an area of 120 meters squared. All right, using that same logic, why don't you guys go ahead and try the next one by pausing the video and then go ahead and resume and make sure you're on the right track. So same idea here. We're going to take the hypotenuse, which is 50, square it, set that equal to our unknown height squared, plus, now be careful here, we've got 28. So our triangle here, or our right triangle, would only be 14. So we're going to have 14 squared. Then let's go ahead. 50 squared is going to be 2,500 equals x squared plus 14 squared is going to be 196. Subtract 196 from 2,500 and you end up with 2,340 is equal to x squared. When we go ahead and take the square root of that, we get the height of our triangle is equal to 48 feet. Now we can use our area of a triangle. Area is equal to 1/2. Our base is 28. Our height is 48. And 1/2 times 28 times 48 is going to give us an area of 672 feet squared. All right, Now, this next table is just something to help you guys. These are probably the 4 most common right triangles that you will see. 3, 4, 5, the legs would be 3 and 4. The hypotenuse would be 5 in this first example. So on, 5 and 12 would be the legs, 13 hypotenuse, and so on for the whole table. Then if you take multiples of these, it's still going to give you the same right triangles. So 6, 8, 10, 9, 12, 15 are all just multiples of the original right triangle, 3, 4, 5. Now, where this can help you is, standardized tests where you're timed. If you can recognize the lengths of a right triangle, you don't even need to go through the Pythagorean theorem in order to find that missing side if you can recognize these values, is essentially what this table does for you. So like example in number 6, if I know my legs are 24 and 45, and I recognize right away that those are just multiples of 8 and 15, well, here's 24 and 45, so 24 is 3 times 8, so I know the hypotenuse is 17, so 3 times 17, this hypotenuse is going to be 51. Now, if you wanted to plug these into the Pythagorean theorem, 45 squared plus 24 squared equals x squared, you would still get the same answer of 51 for your hypotenuse. But just something, if you're able to memorize these 4 lengths, you'll be able to see the multiples and you won't even have to plug into the Pythagorean theorem. Same thing here, 10 and 40. This is really started as 3, this started as 4, multiplied it by 10, that goes back to our first one, so 30, 40, that hypotenuse has to be 50 without even plugging in. I recognize it, I know my table, hypotenuse is 50, and then you're good to go from there. So hopefully you guys are able to follow along as we went through that about the Pythagorean theorem. Please make sure you check your assignments tab on Mudge. Get that homework done and in for me before class tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll probably move on to 7.2 and continue working through chapter 7 until I'm able to be back in the classroom with you guys on Tuesday.